Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish series stars. If you enjoy diving into the heart of the Turkish entertainment scene, remember to like this video and subscribe so you never miss the stories everyone's whispering about. Tonight, we're unpacking a moment that sent a jolt through fandoms everywhere, a calm but unmistakably final statement from Gökberk Yıldırım about Cemre Arda. He looked into the cameras and, without anger or theatrics, said he doesn't want to talk about her anymore. The room held its breath. Fans did too. Is this true closure, or the kind of line you draw when something still hurts? Tell us what you think as we unravel how we got here and what might be coming next. For years, Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda were the on-screen pairing that made directors breathe easier and audiences obsess over the smallest gestures. They never confirmed an off-screen romance, not once, but the clues stacked up. The spontaneous weekend escapes that paparazzi caught from just the wrong angle, the way a single touch in an interview could turn into 1,000 edits overnight, the chemistry that didn't look performed so much as lived. Whether they meant to or not, they wrote a story together that fans read like a diary. And yet, tonight, it feels like the last page has already been turned. At a press event for his new series, surrounded by lights and microphones and the polite chaos of publicity, a reporter asked Gökberk about Cemre. The room braced for the usual polite non-answer. Instead, he drew a boundary you could hear. He thanked the past, said he respected what happened, and made it crystal clear that his focus is the present. He finished with words that echoed long after he left the stage, that chapter is closed for him. Was it acceptance? A decision? Or a bandage that still covers a bruise no one sees? The debate ignited immediately, spreading from the press room to every timeline. People close to Gökberk say this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. One friend confided that he spent weeks in a quiet routine, home, scripts, long walks at night, phone on silent. He was neither angry nor broken, he was sorting. According to this friend, he realized that some stories, no matter how adored, stop being good for you. It hurts to admit. It hurts even more to act on it. But he did. He chose to let go of a beautiful narrative that no longer felt true to his present. Meanwhile, Cemre Arda did what she often does best in complicated moments, she kept her counsel. Her team stayed quiet, not a single official statement. Only her own voice reached out, in carefully chosen lines on social media that felt like a whisper rather than a shout. Silence is an answer too, she wrote one evening. Not every ending requires a grand speech. The words were spare, yet heavy. Viewers who had watched the pair for years saw subtext in every vowel, and interpreted it as her way of reclaiming dignity without inviting a fight. We also heard from an anonymous source who worked on a recent campaign where both had ties. That person described a strange chill that seemed to hang around them. Tension wasn't loud. It was the opposite. They no longer looked at each other with the old ease. They performed the necessary gestures, stood in the same frame when asked, and moved away with polite efficiency. Once, things between them flowed without effort. Now it felt like choreography learned overnight. The source said it was painful to witness a connection that once sparkled like a rumor of forever go dim without a proper goodbye. Online reactions are split right down the middle. Some call Gökberk brave, praising him for drawing a line after months of speculation, thanking him for the clarity they themselves have struggled to find in their own lives. Others think the tone felt chilly, too blunt for a history that meant so much to audiences. One fan wrote that after everything they had shared with viewers, moments, memories, an entire generation's edits, there should have been a warmer farewell. After the event, Gökberk slipped out with his representative, declining follow-up questions. Hours later, his team posted a short note thanking the public for their support and asking everyone to respect his decision not to comment further on past relationships. Despite the post, the conversation only intensified. Rumors doubled back on themselves. Some outlets began reporting that the rift might not be purely emotional, that it had bled into their work. An industry insider claimed that a couple of projects fell apart when one party reportedly refused to be involved if the other was attached. No names, no dates, just the sting of possibility. If true, it would suggest not just two people drifting apart, but two careers learning to steer around each other after a sudden, difficult split. Fans, being fans, reopened archives to read old moments anew. A TikTok resurfaced of a years-old interview where Cemre smiled, softly, knowingly, while talking about a scene partner whose presence made dialogue feel unnecessary. Viewers swore she meant Gökberk. The clip racked up thousands of comments in hours. At the same time, whispers started about a new spark for him, a younger actress working with him on the new show. Nothing confirmed, nothing solid, just two figures leaving set together under pale streetlights, captured in photos that might mean everything or nothing. Still, the images fed the idea that perhaps he isn't just closing a chapter. Maybe he's already turned the page. Cemre was seen recently at a quiet cafe in Gökberk with her closest friend, sitting by the window the way people do when they want light more than attention. Someone asked, gently, what she thought about Gökberk's statement. She smiled a little and answered without bitterness. Some things bury themselves, she said. They don't need words, and they don't ask for an audience. It wasn't a clapback, it was a boundary of her own, drawn without drama. Experts weighed in, as they always do when emotions become public currency. A psychologist invited onto a late-night gossip show observed that Cemre's stance in recent appearances, neck tall, shoulders squared, hands calm, reads like a woman determined to look unshaken, even if there's a pulse of hurt beneath the surface. Gökberk, on the other hand, appeared to have reasoned through it, set limits, and found a narrative he could live inside without collapsing. Not better, not worse, just different ways of surviving the same goodbye. The fandom remains divided, and that division is strangely tender. Some believe his coolness is real, that he has put away the old version of himself that lingered in the memories of scenes and songs and press junkets. Others think the coolness is armor, a way to keep cameras at bay while he finds a private way to grieve what was. The same question keeps surfacing. Is there a future where these two find each other again, even as colleagues, even as distant friends? Or is this truly where the past stops asking to be revived? One fan wrote that sometimes distance is the only language that helps you hear yourself. Maybe this isn't an ending, they added. Maybe it's a pause that teaches you how to return. Or how to keep walking. On social platforms, certain phrases have begun to float to the top, traveling like little paper boats: Barlson, silent pain, farewell without goodbye. Edits juxtapose their earliest scenes with the newer footage where the air between them feels thin and cautious. Commenters add theories, essays, poems, anything that can close a loop that refuses to close on its own. Some fans are even circulating a petition for Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda to headline a limited series together, a project designed like a ceremony, a way for two people, and all who watched them, to put the story to rest with grace. And yet, there's also a quieter understanding developing among longtime followers. Maybe stories don't end cleanly. Maybe they taper off in half-sentences and altered schedules and short statements that leave just enough space between the lines for us to fill with what we need. Maybe they say enough by choosing not to say more. What's undeniable is that, whether or not we ever see them share a screen again, the narrative they crafted continues to live on where it always mattered most. In the hearts of those who saw themselves in their glances, who understood the language of a lingering pause, who know that silence can be both a wound and a way to heal. So what do you think? Was Gökberk Yıldırım right to draw the curtain publicly, to say at last that the past is not his present? Or should he have handled it differently, softer, with a goodbye shaped like a thank you? And what about Cemre Arda's quiet? Do you hear it as protection, or as a message that needs no echo? Share your thoughts with us, because this conversation belongs to everyone who felt something watching their story unfold. Thank you for staying with us to the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Turkish Series Stars for more exclusive insights from the world of Turkish entertainment. We'll see you in the next video, where the headlines are loud, but the truth often speaks in whispers. Before we close, a few final details that add texture to this moment. In the week after his statement, Gökberk was photographed leaving a rehearsal studio alone, dressed in the plain uniform of a man who doesn't want to be recognized, dark hoodie, cap, no jewelry. He kept his head down, but not in defeat. It looked more like someone concentrating on his steps. Cemre, by contrast, was seen 2 days later at a charity event she supported for years, moving through the crowd with practiced warmth, smiling at children, avoiding interviews with a quiet professionalism that reminded everyone why she's so respected. Neither looked triumphant. Neither looked undone. They looked, somehow, like adults living with complicated truths. An actor who once guest-starred with both commented privately that their instincts used to dovetail in a way that made scenes feel like improvisations even when the lines were memorized to the syllable. That kind of trust isn't easy to build, and it's even harder to dismantle. If they never work together again, we'll remember that trust the way you remember a favorite song. You don't need to play it to know exactly how it goes. And if one day they do share a set again, maybe the strength of that old trust will be the reason it works, not as a reunion, but as a demonstration that endings don't have to erase beginnings. For now, the only certainty is the boundary Gökberk drew and the silence Cemre chose. Boundaries and silences are not empty. They're full of decisions, hopes, and the fear of being misunderstood. They also protect what can't withstand more exposure. Perhaps that's the most grown-up part of this story. After giving the public years of sparks and sighs and backstage rumors, they're taking back the right to be ordinary for a while. Ordinary isn't a headline, but it's often where real healing happens. Whatever you believe about what did or didn't happen between them, there's a strange comfort in knowing that two people we've watched so closely are asking for the same grace the rest of us need when we're navigating a goodbye. As the industry resets for the next season, scripts will circulate with new pairings and unexpected risks. Directors will chase magic where they can find it. Editors will look for the shot that tells a secret. And fans will keep remembering, because remembering is a kind of love. Whether you're rooting for a comeback or you're ready to let the past be a place you visit only in favorite clips, one thing remains true. The legend of Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda doesn't live in press releases or cryptic posts. It lives in the way their story made you feel. Maybe that's why his words shook people. Maybe that's why her quiet felt so loud. And maybe that's enough, for now. You've been watching Turkish series Stars, where we follow not just the news, but the moments between the headlines. Like, subscribe, and tell us, if you could write the final scene for them, what would it be?